Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be reacting to
6 British things that are actually American.
Hi Lawrence, I'm on a quest to
could that
uncover all of the
possibly be?
memos that Britain and the...
Well...
pie. Apple pie.
No, that's British.
Oh, no.
I can tell you what he held in the thumbnail, so...
No.
No, you don't want to know?
America, lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to things and stuff. Specifically, things and stuff that are widely synonymous with one country, but unbeknownst to most of us, were invented in the other. Today, we're going to look at 6 British things that, against all odds, are actually American. And you might be wondering, Lawrence, you're British. Why would you choose to show up your country in favour of the United States? Well, firstly, you hypothetical person, my official nationality is British American. And secondly, I recently gave Britain its due in the much heralded video 6 American things that are actually British. I'll link to that video at the...
Oh, we gotta check that out. I don't think we reacted to it, no?
And if you would like to be alerted about all future videos and haven't had a chance to subscribe to this channel, do that now. Count bins at Walmart.
Bounty bar.
When I first moved...
Bounty bar?
Bounty bar, yeah.
That's,
the Bounty bar.
that's British things that are actually... It's
What?
British? I thought it was... I thought it was British. Because that's why we tried it.
Oh yeah, we tried it in our food, European chocolate reaction.
I thought it was British candy. Oh.
We don't have Bounty here. Maybe it originated in America, but we don't have Bounty here.
For the United States, all of those years ago, people would ask me, Lawrence, apart from your family and your...
But yeah, guys, check out our American versus European food test.
C1.
Yeah, we tried Bounty there.
Yorkshire puddings, what do you miss most about Britain? And my answer was always the same. British chocolate. I mean, sure, your average American grocery store might carry 1 or 2 Cadbury bars and mini eggs, but Crunches, Twirls and Whisper bars were a lot harder to come by. However, America's confectionery aisles did contain one divisive British chocolate bar that I happen to love. Bounty. Okay, fantastic, I can live with that, except 2 of the things that I just said are completely and utterly a little bit false. The Bounty, a chocolate-covered, coconut-filled fixture of UK sweet shelves, is not actually British at all, but American. And I know what you
Because I thought the counterpart was Almond Joy.
Almond Joy, so maybe that's where he's going with it, I don't know.
Orange.
I mean, to be fair, Mars is an American company. However, we don't have it here, so let's see where he's going with this, I don't know.
Britain sells M&M's, Snickers and countless other American top sellers. What makes Bounty so special? And in some respects, you raise a valid point, especially since the wrapper is plastered with obviously Hawaiian imagery. You see, I always just thought that this was a product of fantastical marketing. Kind of like how Britain came up with the world's most famous bears, despite the total absence of bears in the British wild. Furthermore, this one is special in part because of its name, which brings me on to line number 2, the truth of which is this. Americans don't call them Bounties. Here, the bar is branded differently, depending on whether it's light or dark chocolate, with the names Almond Joy.
Okay, guys, you definitely gotta watch us testing the foods. We are literally, in that video, we literally compare Bounty versus Almond Joy. They're not the same.
They're not the same.
They're not the same. So
they can be cousins, but like
yes,
second row cousins.
They can be, no, maybe first row cousins is fair.
No, it's second.
Okay, Rochelle. Siblings would be like what you describing. They're not siblings, they're cousins. It's okay, they're cousins, first row cousins. Okay, they're similar, but it's different. Check that video, we talk about it.
Boy and Mounds applied respectively. Both were launched in the first half of the 20th century.
Mounds is the dark chocolate version.
Oh,
and because they do have dark chocolate Bounty too. Funnily enough, their packagings are the same: blue for milk chocolate, red for dark for both of them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In the United States. And it was only a few years later, in 1951, that Mars Incorporated, which had no trademark attachment to the American varieties, launched Bounty in the UK and Canada as straight-up imitations.
Straight up imitations, maybe, but it is still British thing. It's not. I wouldn't say it's American. You can't claim that as an American because we don't have it. And Almond Joy is different.
And you won't find it in the regular aisle. You have to find it in the international
aisle. Yeah, no, I wouldn't claim it as American. I don't think that's I don't think that's a good one. Sandwiched in between the launch of these sugar-vegan chocolate bars was an even bigger killer. World War Part 2. Thankfully, as an antidote to the horror and misery unfolding before them, both countries found comfort in music.
Most famously, American band leader Glenn Miller was hugely popular on both sides of the Atlantic, to the tragic extent that he disappeared over the English Channel in 1944. As it happens, Britain's most lauded wartime music icon herself became synonymous with the English Channel. In addition to singing the famous World War II hit and Dr. Strangelove outro track, We'll Meet Again, Vera Lynn soothed Britain with the equally hopeful White Cliffs of Dover. As the Luftwaffe homed in on Britain, who wouldn't have found comfort in the prophecy, there'll be bluebirds over the White Cliffs of Dover? Well, for one, ornithologists, because there are no f***ing bluebirds in Britain. In fact, they're entirely endemic to North America, which also appears to have been true of the song's lyricist. After it was released, New Yorker Nat Burton insisted
I don't know bluebird, I know blue jay.
I mean, honestly, he could be lying, but I'm gonna take it for face value because I have no idea.
Yeah, because the first one was we found was a lie.
Yeah, this one I literally have no idea.
I didn't realise that England didn't have bluebirds. Still, nice sentiment, Nat, if that is your real name. Anyway, speaking of iconic anthems, that brings us on to this. Few things are more British than football, a sport whose origins can be traced back to ancient China. Really? Okay, fine, but few things really are more British than football chants and songs. And perhaps the most iconic anthem in the whole of English football is...
I don't know what is this at all. When you put that, I was like, what is this?
Football scarf.
You and then they walk alone?
Oh, I guess it's a football chant, like a song.
Oh.
Appropriately, given the song's title, it is also synonymous with more than one British club, with supporters of both Celtic and Liverpool belting it out before kick-off. In fact, the song is so inextricably linked to Liverpool in particular that those 4 words can be found on the club's badge. It is used in reference to the successful 1963 version by Jerry and or the Pacemakers. At the time, Jerry and or the Pacemakers were a popular group from Liverpool, perhaps second only to... the auto cues failed. I suppose the people are never going to know the identity of that other group now, and so the song and everything it represents is as Liverpudlian as Albert Dock, except it isn't. You see, unlike the band formerly known as the Quarrymen, Jerry and or the Pacemakers did not write their first few hit singles, and this included You'll Never Walk Alone. But then you knew that if you happen to be a fan of musicals. I once played Prince Dauntless in Once Upon a Mattress, so it's a touchy subject. The piece was in fact the brainchild of American songwriting duo Rodgers and Hammerstein, who included the track on their Broadway smash Carousel. So how did it come to be an anthem for England's most trophy?
I mean, I guess it's, one of those cases where people just cover other people's songs. We've seen it plenty.
Leyden Club. Well, by 1963, Jerry Marsden, this time without his pacemakers, is said to have played a demo to Liverpool's legendary manager Bill Shankly, who was like, "That is an absolute banger, mate. Inject that shit into my veins." Now, we haven't verified the validity of that quote, but rest assured it was along those lines. Later that year, the song, along with other chart hits of the day, made it onto the terraces of Liverpool's Anfield Stadium. And unlike those other songs, it hasn't left since.
Remembrance Poppies, what's that?
That's right, even the poppies that are worn by us Brits in the lead up to Remembrance Day aren't actually British. But don't take my word for it, instead, here's me from a year ago discussing it on a YouTube short that you probably missed. Moira Michael was an American professor who pioneered the idea of commemorating soldiers with the red poppy. She'd been inspired to push for it after reading the famed poem In Flanders Fields by John McCrae, himself a Canadian lieutenant colonel. While teaching a class to disabled World War I servicemen at the University of Georgia, Moira saw an opportunity to engineer financial support for the wounded by selling poppies. As a result of her efforts, the American Legion Auxiliary and the British Legion Appeal Fund both formalised the poppy as a symbol of remembrance from 1921.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
While Britain widely persists with the symbol more than a century later, America has long since phased out the November 11th poppy, with some choosing to wear one during May's Memorial Day. Thanks, Past Lawrence, my neck hurts. And now, just like my mate Daz after an hour on the beach, we go from something red to something even more red. But Father Christmas, one of Santa's pseudonyms while delivering presents in Britain, didn't always wear that particular colour. But as I said in 1987 when Santa brought me a protein pack instead of a proton pack, back up there, mate, because who was Father Christmas actually? Well, I won't bore you with all of the details because I already did that in this video. But in a nutshell, it went like this. From English folkloric tradition, Father Christmas was indeed the personification of Christmas. Historically, he went by several names, including Christmas Lord, Prince Christmas, and I'm not making this one up, Captain Christmas. But when settlers boarded ships for the New World, they didn't take Captain Christmas with them, presumably opting for an actual captain. There are 2 big reasons for this. Number 1, 17th century Puritans in England had declared Christmas an affront to God, even banning it at one point. And number 2, Puritans in New England kind of viewed things the same way. And so many Christmas traditions were shelved, including Father Christmas. But fear not, because 200 years later, with Puritan influence having long since waned, he returned. However, by the time he was revived by the Victorians, who often depicted him in green robes and a crown ordered on eBay, the US had moved on to other things, such as the Dutch figure Sinterklaas. And at this point you might be thinking, so what, Lawrence, you lied to us. All this tells us is that Father Christmas is still...
Sinterklaas.
I wonder if that's... I've never heard the term Father Christmas. I wonder if that's like we're talking about Santa Claus or what?
Correction, was still British, because during the 19th century, word of Santa Claus reached England. People seemed to take a shine to him, and although for a while he and Father Christmas remained distinct, our version started taking on elements of that curious fellow from the North Pole. For instance, his crown disappeared and was replaced by a hood, probably also from eBay. His waist became larger and his cheeks rosier. And after Santa Claus was depicted in 19th century cartoons wearing red and white, Father Christmas came to follow suit. I didn't intend that pun, but gosh, it was good. And so today you could argue that he remains Father Christmas in name only, hence why a lot of Brits just call him Santa Claus.
I did not get that point. That was a little too confusing, because I felt like it originated in Britain to begin with, so it's still British, I don't know.
But he was wearing green.
I guess.
When you hear the word tea, there's only one country that comes to mind, Britain. I've just realised that's 3 countries. Nonetheless, the British fixation with tea is very real, dating back to the 1660s when it was brought to England by Catherine of Braganza, the future Queen of England. Just over a century later, Britain was so enamoured with tea that Americans in Boston famously copied us by hosting a tea party of their own. And on a personal note, the one thing that Americans assume most about me is that I prefer tea to coffee, which is only true if I've had 3 coffees. That said, British people do generally love their tea, whereas Americans, more often than not, are indifferent. Instead, the latter love their lattes. And so it will surprise absolutely everybody to learn that tea bags were invented not in Britain, but Milwaukee. The first patent, or patent if you will, was filed in that city in 1903 by its inventors Roberta Lawson and Mary McLaren. Within 5 years, their idea caught the attention of New York importer Thomas Sullivan, who subsequently had them shipped around the world. The tea bags, not the
Very
inventors.
helpful.
Today, tea bags are a common household item in Britain. But Yorkshire tea, which is manufactured 80 miles from my English hometown, owes everything to 2 people 80 miles from this one. Behold US patent 723287, the tea leaf holder. Is that what it's called?
Interesting.
That's pretty cool.
So the tea bags, I thought it's gonna, because he is holding a tea bag in the thumbnail, so I was like, ooh, I thought maybe he's gonna say something about tea, but I didn't think tea bags.
I know how you used to do tea. You used to be everywhere, and you had like a catcher, and you strain it.
Strainer?
Like, I remember you take
yeah.
a container and you scoop out what you want, then you put it in a container, you latch it, and you put it in the heat.
Yes, it's the strainer, yeah. Yeah, like sometimes you drink tea like that, sometimes the tea bag, depends on the type of tea you get, you know.
You used to be a big tea person back in the day.
Yeah, I don't drink as much tea anymore as I used. I barely drink tea anymore now. I don't know why.
Now you mostly do coffee, energy drink. Maybe you should go back to tea. Guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord. And as always, share as much kindness as possible.